Here are 3 amazing agility drills that are effective, fun, and competitive. We'll be going over a tennis ball drill that's great for hand-eye coordination and quickness, a reactive shadowing drill with a competitive side to increase the intensity, then lastly a figure 8 drill to work on curved running that is more common in a lot of sports than most people realize. All 3 of these drills focus on different components of agility or change of direction, which allows for variety and a great way to target everything you need. This tennis ball drill is amazing. My athletes enjoy it a ton. In fact, they like it so much, that's one of the rules over at the gym. You can't ask me to do the tennis ball drill all the time. Set up about a 5x5 yard box with 4 cones. Then within those cones, have your athlete catch and toss tennis balls you're bouncing and tossing to them. In the beginning, start off slower, building a rhythm and cadence to keep the drill moving smoothly based on the athlete's speed, hand-eye coordination, and just plain ability to catch and toss back. Go for about 20 to 30 seconds per athlete for anywhere between 8 and 12 rounds. Each round, you'll notice the timing and accuracy of each athlete improving. With that, you want to increase the difficulty of the drill by tossing the balls still inside the box, but in more challenging positions in relation to their movement. This drill is one of my favorites as well. For younger athletes, they get so much out of it. And for the older athletes, you can really push their limits on how fast they can get somewhere and then get the ball back to you. You'll want a decent amount of tennis balls. Store them in your pockets because if the ball goes out of the box from a bad toss or a missed catch, just have the athlete let it go and quickly get back in the middle of the box and ready for the next toss. Make sure that movement-wise, you're staying low or they're staying low, pushing quickly to get to the ball. This is less of a sprinting drill and more focused on small space shuffling or lateral movement. If you don't have a coach to help run this drill, then just go grab a sibling, parent, friend, whatever, teammate to run it with you. The tossing from the coach's perspective, or as you see me doing, not to toot my horn, is a little more difficult than I'm making it look, especially to keep the drill running smooth. I've done this drill with 2 athletes just tossing the ball back and forth. And let's say it becomes more laughing and chasing rogue balls over the gym versus getting in an efficient set with quality movement and reps. Good luck. Drill number 2 is a reactive shadowing drill. I'm sure a lot of people have done or seen shadowing drills like this, and that's because they're pretty simple and very effective. But one difference I like to add in that makes the drill even more competitive is to set it up this way. And I also have 2 different options or variations in which you can set it up, just based on what equipment you have. And to keep training fresh. Set up cones with tennis balls or lacrosse balls on the top of each cone. Both athletes will have a cone to their left and the right with the ball on top. You want them facing each other a few feet apart. The cone's distances can be shorter or further apart depending on the space you have. I generally like to keep the cone distance anywhere between 10 to 30 yards apart. The distance just changes up the flow of the drill and focus of movement or speed. In this scenario, they're about 30 yards apart. Pick one athlete to be the leader. For 5 to 15 seconds, have them shuffle facing each other, with the other athlete trying to shadow or stay in front of the leader as best as possible. Eventually, say go. At that time, both athletes will sprint to go pick up the closest ball to the side they're on, sprint to the other side, and then sprint to the middle. You don't necessarily have to have them go to the closest ball, but you're going to want to from a competitive standpoint because it's closer, so it's less distance, so you'll win easier. In the middle, you can either have a line like you see here, or just put another cone. The athlete that picks up both balls and sprints through the middle the fastest wins. The one stipulation that I would put on this drill, or oftentimes I do put on this drill, is when they pick up the balls, they must face towards the middle of the drill. Turn their hips and pick up each ball with the outside hand, which is also the opposite hand in reference to the first pickup. The reason for this is because not only is it faster, but because it teaches them to turn hard on both hips. I talked about this a little bit in my last video when it comes to change of direction. Most athletes are going to feel comfortable turning their hips one direction versus the other, which means we want to make sure we're working both sides instead of training so we can reduce the risk of injury and have a more well-rounded athlete. In the second version, you can set up the same way, but add in foam rollers at the end to smack over instead of picking up balls. The foam roller bit is just fun and a different way to run the same drill. With the roller, sometimes I also set it up where they're actually on one side of the gym versus on both sides. You do the shadowing part on one side and then have them sprint down and knock it over. Makes the drill a little bit shorter and just different components. Either way works great, and you can use it as a progression or however you want to do it. It's just a different way of doing it. And the final drill, definitely the most taxing on someone's legs due to its setup and if the athletes are really going hard at it because of the competitive side and how fun it is. This drill is basically an athletic duck duck goose setup in a figure 8 of cones. Set up 2 circles with cones creating an 8. The smaller the circles are, the harder the drill is. You don't want them too small or too big. I would say in diameter, you want them to be about 2 to 3 yards for each circle. One athlete will start in the middle of the circles and the other on the outside facing in. You'll have one chaser trying to tag the other athlete. I typically have the chaser on the outside of the circle so it keeps it simple and they don't forget who is trying to tag the other person. For 15 to 20 seconds, the chaser is trying to tag the other athlete. They can't go inside the circles and can't venture too far away. This drill, because it's ran on a circular setup, forces them to sprint and change direction on a curve, which you see more often in sports than I think most people realize. Be sure that their shoes are tied tight and not to dive when trying to tag someone. You can also cut up some pool noodles and use them to tag each other. It's just fun, automatically designates the tagger, and adds in a different element to make it seem more like a game. All three of these drills are great, but also game-like, which sometimes can seem like a negative word inside of a training setting. But it's really not. By making the drills reactive, competitive, and gamified, oftentimes, if not most definitely every time, it increases the output and intensity of the drill. This over time will not only help with their speed, change direction, agility, but keep them excited and putting effort into drills they actually enjoy. Try all three of these out. I promise you will enjoy them and find a lot of good benefits from them. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.